You know what it is, black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy.
You know who it is, black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy.
Odie, Mari, Sodi, Maurice.
Maury Sodi, Maury Sodi.
Black and snurdy, black and snurdy.
Black and snurdy, black and snurdy.
Hey, oh.
Yes, Mo?
Are you ready?
Let's go!
Black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy. It's the Black and Snurdy podcast with Odie and Maurice.
And we're back. Told you it was gonna come in handy.
I'm glad you did that.
Yes. Yeah. So I feel really rested after that quick break. I'm not gonna lie, I am.
Well, now that we've gone to our break, are you ready to talk about some things we've been watching this week?
Yeah. As a matter of fact,
Watch out now.
that's exactly what I'm ready to do. This is where we, just have a quick conversation about the stuff that we've been watching in the past week. And honestly, both of us, which one do you want to start with? Because there's two big ones that we've been watching. And
you know what? I feel like we need to start with them because I feel like who knows if after we talk about them, if how much time will be left to continue talking about the other one.
That's fair. So just for those who have not been aware, we are watching the Amazon Prime program titled Them.
And there will be spoilers, so I can't tell you what to do, but just know that I can't remember everything to not say, so just be careful.
Yes, so just honestly, this whole middle section is essentially just spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. Everything we're gonna talk about is spoiler, so, but we are gonna be talking about Amazon Prime's Them. It is a series that there's... A few episodes ago, I coined this term. What did I coin? It was, damn it. It's,
race, trauma, psychological
It's like, yeah,
thrillers.
It's, race, trauma, horror.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Something like that.
This basically the Jordan Peele model of black storytelling in which stories starring black actors, black characters, centered around the black experience, with also just a supernatural horror element to it on top of just the shit that we've had to go through historically. Yeah, it's that kind of show. And essentially the premise of the show is that this black family in the 1950s moved from the South to California, to Compton, and they're the only black family, and the white people in the neighborhood are not happy about it. And so now they have to tend to just the bullshit racism during the 1950s on top of scary psychological bullshit. There's a bunch of frightening, horrible, scary shit that's been haunting the house or haunting their past and coming back to them. And this week we watched 2 episodes. We had previously watched the first 2. This week we watched 3 and 4.
Yeah.
And it was just heavy. It was heavy subject matter. Again, this is heavy spoiler. And also, if you're sensitive to this kind of stuff, completely understandable, because I'm also sensitive to this kind of stuff. We find out essentially what happened, what traumatic thing happened. In the beginning of the show, at the beginning, there were hints that, hey, they had a son, but in the present, there's no son. There's just 2 daughters. Whatever happened to the son? And we found out, and it's just terrible.
I feel like, okay, I understand the whole Jordan Peele type of we're gonna make movies that are centering blackness, but also are kind of showing. Us was like that, but I would not say Get Out was like that, but Us was just more of a psychological thriller or
I would say,
supernatural thriller.
But it also had the allegory of double consciousness. The idea that as black people we have to be one way, or like we have essentially two Americas that we live in, and we essentially have to, be our own black self, but also for survival's sake be the sort of Americanized version of ourselves, which is why in the very beginning you said, like, oh, this is the boat, and you're talking about all that. I maybe read a few think pieces.
Yeah. Okay. But I feel like with them, the issue I take with it is not that they're talking about things that are like traumatic things that have happened in the black community. But I think that as much as we need to know these things have happened and it's like a fictionalized account, etc., I wonder how far is too far when you're storytelling, and can you not get to the same point to get the same reaction of like kind of outrage without having to be so incredibly graphic? Because, like, spoiler alert, obviously, like we said, we find out that because the whole time we're wondering what happened to the baby. I recognized from that first episode with that crazy looking white lady and her, and seeing the people with her, that they were going to take and harm that baby somehow. So I already knew that was about to be part of the story. I was just waiting for it to happen. But this was so much more. Not to say that it was like unrealistic, because they used to use black babies as gator bait. Yeah, like that's, so we know that this is not any way new for a child to be an infant to be murdered or harmed or any way, and the mother to be raped while it's happening and being defenseless. None of that is new. But do we need, especially now when we're constantly being inundated with Black death on television that is not fictional, do we need to have it so graphic and so disturbing to be able to show people these are the things that happened? Because you could have still shown those things without it being this. And it makes me think about like old Vincent Price movies, right? House on Haunted Hill was so freaking scary. I remember watching it and being terrified. But when you watched House on Haunted Hill, you saw like everything happened, but there was still a kind of like leave it to your imagination, even while knowing this crazy shit went down. So I'm curious as to why, especially when it comes to Black death and Black trauma, why do we have to show things so explicitly when, even if more than just Black people are going to be watching it, but you already know if there's a certain director, there's a Black cast, a whole dark-skinned Black cast, when do we ever get that? Then Black people are going to want to watch this. But then you're watching it, and it's like you're being traumatized even more before the episode is over. And to me, I'm like, is that doing us a disservice?
I would say, and I argued with you about this. Not argued, but I stated we had a debate. I personally understand where you're coming from. I absolutely understand where you're coming from. All of this is just, it's triggering. In case we didn't make it fucking clear what the actual scene occurred, white people in the South break into the house, rape the mother, and put the baby in a pillowcase. And they're playing this sick game where they're tossing the pillowcase and swinging it around and stuff until the baby's dead.
Yep, that's stuff.
That is what happened.
And we don't need to give any more details because
no more details.
Horrible.
Here's my take on this. Essentially, I think this was traumatic for me to watch. I'm never gonna go back and watch that ever again. That scene, that episode. Even if I want to go back and the story is fantastic and I want to watch the series from the beginning, that scene is viscerally ingrained into my skull. I don't ever need to see it again. I think it is important to have scenes like that. And here's why I feel like that. Like, these things have been, like you said, happening. These things happened. This is not a made-up fictional story that came out of some sick mind. This is a fictional story that came out of sick events that happened in the past. Real shit that happened to us. And we have spent time, years, decades screaming and yelling and trying to tell people about our experiences to no avail, right? But hear me out. So what do? Like we've tried softly saying it. We've tried, conveying it via media, via stories like Roots. And in any other Amistad, any other movies, like during the last 40, 50, however many years, to show some level of Black experience. And has it helped get people to understand the plight? Because you would think if people would understand and actually put two and two together, maybe then that would elicit some sort of change in real life. I'm not talking about, oh man, I saw Amistad, so therefore I'm going to vote differently in my policies or something like that, but at least have some sort of empathy so that when we just say, hey, I experienced this fucking racist thing that happened, that it's nobody's looking at us dumbfounded like, what? Racism still exists? So I say, yeah, have scenes like this, have them be fucking hard to watch shit because it was already hard for us to live through and experience. So, yeah, I'm on the side of showing this kind of stuff. Again, it's traumatic to watch, it's traumatic to see, but if that is what it takes to tell our stories in full context, to completely get the gravity of what we've had to endure, I'm for it. I support it, but I only watch it once because it's too traumatic for me.
This is a counter argument. Black people have been in the public eye, not even just people have seen our traumas, whether it was people driving around and seeing our bodies swinging from trees, or seeing, like, at any point in time. I found out this weekend that a white Jewish man wrote the song "Strange Fruit" for Billie Holiday. So it's not. These are not new. But my thing is, the same way back then, you had white people purchasing bits and pieces of the charred, decapitated, dismembered Black bodies from lynchings and pictures of different, type of atrocities that involved Black people in, like, and not even just in America, but globally. In Denmark, they're still selling nigger toes, or those little chocolate hands from when the slaves in the Congo would have their hands and body parts sliced off, regardless of their age, if they weren't making enough coca in the coca factories. Mm-hmm. So this is not, Black trauma is not new, and it's been seen for a very long time. We've been telling the stories ourselves. White people have been witnessing them, whether they were perpetrating or just bystanders, and at the end of the day, it hasn't changed. And I feel the way that we are constantly putting Black bodies on the news to be shown constantly, when you literally have never seen one video depicting any kid from Sandy Hook, anybody from any of the movie theater shootings, you never see those bodies, but ours are full display. And that is because there are some people who either get off on watching us be brutalized and murdered, and or knowing that we are getting traumatized from seeing those images, because those, like I said before, we humans are not. It's not that we're not supposed to know what death is. That is a part of life. I was 12 years old when my great Nana died, and I walked into the hospital, saw her body, touched her. I was like, oh, okay, this is a dead person. That's normal. We have funerals all the time. But watching on television that you're being hunted down like an animal and murdered, that says something completely different to you. And I think that having these sort of extremely graphic images on TV of us being brutalized, to me, it's like, who is that serving? Because as many black people are going to watch this, there are going to be as many white people and non-black people watching it. And we have no clue. We don't have a Nielsen rating for those white people to check. How disturbed are you about this? And is it for you actually disturbing, or are you just kind of getting off? We have no way of gouging that. All we know is this is now in somebody's psyche, and the same amount of people that might have empathy, there's also an equal number of people who could just find something to get off at. Like that's not, to me, abnormal. And why should we give them more fodder to look at? And because the thing is, we could tell these same exact stories. That whole storyline could have happened clear as it did without having it be as excruciatingly gruesome and just in our face like that. There are so many different ways of storytelling. It's just like when you watch horror movies. Like, to me, a horror movie where you have to have somebody's like blood and guts spilling out, like, it's boring. It's just shock value storytelling versus actually telling a story that's going to be creepy and staying with you for days and not just being gross in the moment. Like,
So this was gross in the moment for you. This is like just some meaningless, shocking thing to you.
At the extent that it just felt like that. Like, it was like a shock jock type of storyline or the way that they shot it versus telling that same exact story. Nothing about what happened to her or her child had to have been different. We could have seen scenes and there's so many ways that I've seen movies express terrible, awful things.
So may I?
Without it being that, and I don't think that black people need to have any more of that because we're already dealing with it both in fiction and in real life. Why do we need to be more traumatized just by looking at our screens?
Now, this is the darkest thing that I'm probably going to say, and I'm going to, hopefully we'll be done with this so we can go into something maybe a little bit more brighter. But if it's, I don't want to put words in your mouth, and I don't want to speak for you, but there was maybe any number of ways to tell this story and say this scene without it being so graphic, essentially, right? That's kind of your take. Okay. My, I guess, sort of thing is, if all of this type of storytelling has been happening without the graphics, and now there's this story with the graphics, if we've been telling stories like this without it being mad graphic, like, we've had stories of our children being fucking murdered. We've had stories of our women being raped. Like, we've had all of these stories being told, both in media and in just like real life and news and shit like that. We've had them, right? What does it? So then not even really a question. What difference does it make then? That it's that, because essentially, like, what does it matter?
But we have
if that's the case.
We have no way of knowing that the way that this is so graphic, that it's going to change anyone's heart, because we have literally we know that these stories have been told. Mm-hmm. People have understood Black death, Black abuse, all these things. Mm-hmm. There's no like the hypothesis that this kind of graphic scene is going to change anything, I think is faulty, because we already know, regardless of how graphic, how true something is, how much something is pushed into their faces, and they don't care unless they want to care. And to me, the majority, not just white people are watching the show, sure, but so are Black people. So why do I have to be traumatized for a white person to learn their lesson? Why do I have to be even more traumatized, especially right now? If we had so many other things, if there were not so many things having to do with Black Death happening right now, and this story came out, perhaps I would have a different perspective because it wouldn't feel so raw compared to what we're constantly dealing with in our real lives. So then to watch something where it's like I want to support this movie, this TV show. Even if I don't watch another episode, I could just put it on and just let the ratings go, so that Black girl, the one, I feel like she went to Howard, I think, the lead, so those little girls can make sure that they're getting money. The father can get money. All the cast. I want them to succeed. I want them to go on and do all the projects. But why do I personally have to be traumatized when this is not my cross to bear? I'm not the one being racist. I'm not the one. Like, if this is for white people, then like, why? If we are doing something that's supposed to make them listen to us, but we're the ones that are going to be mostly impacted, because we're going to be the ones who want to support a beautiful Black dark-skinned family on TV, being able to, they're breakout actresses. We want them to win. White people looking at this story are looking at it completely different. It's just like, oh, another horror, supernatural, American Horror Story type story going. Let's watch that. Like, this is interesting. How many of them are actually going to be watching this and recognizing the truth behind it and not just watching it and thinking of this is just another horror story? Oh, that's so horrible. That couldn't possibly be true. We've been talking about these things since before TV and film were even available. Instance of the life of a slave girl. When she wrote that, 1800, something like that. What was the Harriet Beecher Stowe's book? These books, media has been out. And how much of it actually, yes, Harriet Beecher Stowe's book, Uncle Tom's Cabin, did push a lot of white people to want to be abolitionists, but it was only wanting to be an abolitionist to a certain degree.
Okay.
Even then, it didn't even go all the way that it could have. Of like everyone, like, let me throw up your arms. So it's just
okay.
I would like to continue watching it, but I just don't know if it is just necessary.
Hey, we disagree on this one. I personally think that it's necessary, and you know what? If I'm meeting you halfway in the middle ground. Now we have at least a wider range of media for white people to not give a fuck about and for nothing to change. How about that?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, we also watched The Winter Soldier. Hooray, we got a Captain America who's black. What a jarring fucking conversation.
Well, I personally thought this was the last episode of Winter Soldier.
Yes.
And I didn't realize it was the last one, so I was really sad, actually. I don't know why I thought that we would at least have one more episode. But I thought this one was good. I mean, I definitely... now, this is one thing. I don't love Sam's Black Captain America outfit. His costume.
His red, white, and blue. Okay, for those of y'all who are listening, again, all of this fucking section is spoilers.
We said that at the top.
The Falcon, first off, Sam, who previously the Falcon, previously Steve Rogers, a.k.a. Captain America's best friend, helped him in the present. Well, Bucky was also his best friend, who's also the Winter Soldier. The two closest to Captain America, who is now retired and no longer around because of Endgame. He finally has accepted the shield that was given to him by Steve Rogers. And he has now embraced both the Captain America mantle and title while also staying true to himself as Falcon. He still has his wings. He's still doing all of his stuff, but he also now has the addition of the shield. His essential, I guess, outfit is sort of like red, white, and blue, kind of. And you didn't like that. Why?
I guess I just feel like it's ugly. It's just contrast. Like, it doesn't look aesthetically pleasing. Maybe because it looks so much like a robot. It's like kind of like Iron Man's outfit, but like with different colors.
All right. Well, I mean, to be fair, like the original Captain America, his was just, I guess, straight up just like a leather suit or whatever, because he just had muscles. To be fair,
I mean, the Falcon does need all the stuff.
He needs all that
has
stuff
on
because
there.
he's not a super soldier. His superpower is essentially he's a black man in America, which has been the entire point of this entire series. Well, half of the point. The other half has been like Winter Soldier. We get it, PTSD, but you gotta man up and tell that old Asian dude that you killed his son. And he does. So yeah, but boy, oh boy, I forgot the point that I was trying to make.
I think that the Captain America's new outfit, I mean, it's all right. But I have a question for you because I saw this article floating around where someone said it's time for us all to realize or to recognize that Sam cannot fight. And I was curious if you thought that he is a good fighter.
Hand to hand?
Just in general, I guess so.
I would say hand to hand, no. I would
Why?
say, well, that's not his strength. His strength is not hand-to-hand combat. And even throughout the season or series, and even in this final episode, he is not a hand-to-hand combat, kind of person. If anything, his role has always been more of the support and utility character. I never ever want to make it sound like I'm saying sidekick or leaning towards a sidekick, but he was more of a support character. Like his thing was reconnaissance with the Red Wing or the little aerial Falcon thing, robot or what have you, reconnaissance. And when he does do battle, it's more so like, assisting somebody who is literally kicking ass, like on the ground or just doing some aerial stuff, saving people or basically, doing like barrel rolls through the helicopter, pushing people out into the water or anything like that. But it's not, his strength is not hand-to-hand combat. Yeah. That's not his strength. He's not a super soldier. So of course he's not going to fight Carly the super soldier. But I think that's also why it is dope that he is Captain America, because what is Captain America's primary weapon? A shield. And what are shields known for? Defense. Yeah. If you have a strong defense, it can make for an impactful offense. Okay. But he's just not I can admit he's not a good hand-to-hand fighter, but also he's not meant to be.
I personally had no I had no clue about whether or not, I'm like, he looks like he's fighting good to me. I can't really.
Right. Yeah, I think that's wherever that Twitter thing was, it was probably more so.
I think it was Very Smart Brothers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But it was, I think that he he gets the job done. What do you think? Now, my theory is that ugly old Captain America.
You mean the fake Captain America?
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy. You know what? I don't even give a fuck about his name. Whatever.
I cannot believe that he's Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell's child, because
wait,
they literally did not. Whatever because it's like when you look at
no. Time out. Are you saying that the actor who plays he's the son of Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Yeah, well. I'm not even joking. That wasn't even a setup just to do that drop. I
had to look it up, because I just wanted to know why I hated his face so much. And I looked him up and I'm like, but I love your parents' face. I love your sister's face. I hate your face. I think it's his nose. And I also I think that he looked better with facial hair. And because when he came over there and he with his stupid makeshift Captain America shield and raggedy clothes, I was like, okay, he has a little 5 o'clock shadow. And I felt like he looked better. Also, and then when he shaved it, I was like, no.
Also, let's be real. Let's be real about something. Steve Rogers, the original Captain America, stopped wearing his helmet by the second movie that he was in. Yeah. Because he realized how fucking dorky that looked. And come on, Chris.
It did.
Chris, there's 9 different Chris's in the MCU.
Chris Pine? No. Not Chris Evans is Captain America.
Chris Evans, fucking handsome. Okay. So
handsome.
Why would you hide that face underneath a mask? Now that I'm saying this all out loud, it makes sense why this Captain America was wearing the mask. It didn't help, but also
the mask actually makes it worse because it's just he looks more like a douchebag. That's what it is.
That's what it is.
Douchebag without the mask.
He's got douchebag face, but with the mask on, he even it turns it up to 11.
It's like he has a popped collar at a polo event. Ugh.
Oh my god, that is
Ugh,
That is
God.
America. Hey, this is America. Boy, oh boy, why isn't that a drop that I...
You'll add it to the list.
Now, yep, to the ever-growing list of drops that I will never use. Anyhow, but yeah,
But what did you think about the story this week?
Look, they did right by the original Black Captain America from
Shout
the
out
Red.
to Isaiah.
Yes, shout out to Isaiah. I forgot which one was the correct one.
I know.
And I was watching it with you. I cried watching it. I cried.
I didn't know that you cried.
Yeah, I was crying when in the scene where
He brings him out to the museum.
Yeah, and he finally I'm crying, or at least I'm welling up as I'm explaining it, because just for so long, again, this all goes back to just we don't get a lot of recognition, or we don't get the recognition in the flowers that we deserve. So to see somebody finally get his flowers, like for Sam to give Isaiah his flowers, you know what I mean? Like, that was beautiful. That was powerful. That was more powerful than that speech that he gave to the GRC. Like, nothing wrong with that speech, but it was just like, okay, yes, we get it. The history has its eyes on you.
Why don't you have that one as a drop?
You know what? We're going to have a separate podcast where we just complain about all the drops that I don't have. But either way, I was moved by this, and especially by the end of it where they renamed it Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
That was a great
good.
touch.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to season 2.
Well, I don't even know if there's going to be a season 2, but there is going to be a Captain America 4 starring the new Captain America.
Oh, yay.
I believe the timeline is that it's going to be coming out in 2022, I believe.
Well, I definitely think that, oh gosh, what is the agent's name that just got pardoned?
Oh, his superhero name, or
No, not that ugly guy. The girl that
oh,
helped him. The power broker.
Peggy. Nope.
That's Peggy's daughter, isn't it?
Yeah,
Or-
it's Peggy's. It is Peggy's daughter.
Okay, so this is my thing. Isn't Peggy
Carter.
Isn't Peggy
Sharon Carter, I believe. Sharon Carter.
Isn't
I gave you the answer though.
you did. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Isn't that Captain America and his old girlfriend wife's child?
No. Because Sharon Carter already exists. That's Peggy's child.
Can you remind me who Peggy is again? Isn't that Captain America's ex-girlfriend?
Yes.
And that's not Captain America's child?
No.
So Peggy had
Peggy had a child, but it wasn't. Sharon existed since Winter Soldier, which means that in this timeline,
but I thought that she could have gotten pregnant with his baby before he knew.
No,
I couldn't remember.
No.
Okay, fine. All right, never mind. So basically,
that would be fucked up. Those genes would be strong.
Yeah. So she was basically now when she got arrested or got kicked out of the country and all that.
Mm-hmm.
What movie was that? Because I don't know.
That was Winter Soldier.
That was Winter Soldier. Because for some reason, I personally do not really remember that whole storyline about her getting.
Yes, that was Winter Soldier. I'm trying to remember.
Because I mean, that would have been the only time when Captain would have had to steal the shield, right?
No.
Or to be a fake agent or something.
Oh my God! Fucking
I had to rewatch
MCU.
It's so long.
Make 50 more movies that I have to keep track of. And not Captain America and the Winter Soldier. It's Captain America. It's the third Captain America movie, because that's the one where all of them they take sides. Captain America Civil War.
Yeah.
That's where everybody takes sides. And
Yes.
please do not yawn, because that'll just make me yawn.
I'm sorry.
But it's okay. It's fine. But that is the movie where everybody became outlaws and everything like that.
Yes,
and all the Avengers got pardoned except for Sharon Carter.
Well, that's so weird that's okay. So like now that she's the power broker, and she was gonna try to get the Falcon killed. Did you realize that?
Yep.
So I'm like, she totally is a bad guy now. I'm very confused. I want to know what the whole backstory with that is. I have not read the comics for this, so I don't have any story. Do you know anything about this?
This
that
is
you can give me.
It's possible that this could be leading to a storyline called Secret Wars, which essentially I don't know how the next few movies are going to line up to if they are going to tell an overarching story the same way they essentially told the Thanos story. But if they go, because it would have been cool if they wanted to go the secret invasion route, which would have been awesome, but because they changed how the Skrull were portrayed in Captain Marvel. That's Captain Marvel.
Oh, I have to watch that one.
Okay, well, either way, I'm just saying words at you at this point. But this might be a secret invasion thing where essentially just like agents of chaos infiltrate governments, infiltrate the various superhero teams, a lot of double agents, a lot of espionage. It's a decent storyline if they eventually want to go that route. But that's all I really think will be the case. That's all I can think of.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I always see it's always sad to see the good guys turn to the bad side.
No, not really. Sometimes it makes it very more interesting.
Well, I'm always like I don't like when people turn evil. I want them to be good. I want them to I'm all about creating a better world.
Okay.
It's like when I watch these movies and you read these stories and then like all of a sudden the good guy turns evil. I'm like, oh, that sucks. Like, because then really, well, I guess for me the thing is, it sucks because now now you know that they're going to have all these different relationships. They're going to be severed. You're going to have to like fight your best friend. And that's always a thing. Like,
in any good storytelling, in any good story, I will say that the villain is essentially just the hero in their own stories.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, it's going to make it interesting. You know, I'm going to be able to enjoy it. There are a lot of stories where, I mean, when I think about even just like Harry Potter, there are plenty of times where like you think that the good guys turn bad, but they're not really bad, or they are kind of bad, but they're just like, it's a mixture. You never really know, but the story keeps going better, and it's like, it's going to be cool.
It keeps everything interesting, and I'm interested in the next, what is this going to be? The fourth phase 4 in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. At the very least, I won't have to give them my money in cinemas because we've been in a personification this entire time. How about we guys go to break? Let's take a quick break.
Sure.
All right, and we will be back. Thanks for listening to the show. If you'd like to contact the podcast, you can reach us via email at blackandsnerdypodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at blackandsnerdypodcast, as well as on Twitter at blackandsnerdy. You can find me, Maurice, on all social media under the handle Licorish is Legit. That's LICORISH is legit.
And you can find me on Instagram. It's ThatSOD_THATSOD.E. And on Twitter, THATSOD_E. And don't forget to like, rate, and subscribe to us. Tune in next time to the Black and Sturdy Podcast, where nerds of a feather flock together.
Remember?
Bye.
Boy.
Not yet.
No, this is keeping it. We're keeping this in. Don't forget to take your meds and your subs and drink water. Bye.
Bye.
I actually want to keep that.